Kimberly Whitt, welcome back to the show. What do you have for us today?
Okay, so I'm stuck on discussion assignment 1. Do we have to just do a paper, submit a document that shows what our example, like the Sophia example, the audience persona example, just have that written out, and then what our survey's question is that the only thing we have to submit, or do we have to write also the student response format in that also, or is that just what we use to respond to individuals once they're submitted, or classmates? I feel like I'm overthinking and getting confused in something that was probably so simplistic.
Not necessarily. I mean, there is a lot of little moving pieces here, and because it's an online class, there's more opportunity for misunderstanding too. So
Yeah.
it's great that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for this particular assignment, it's part 1, a well-researched audience persona, just like the example. And then part 2 is 2 peer reviews of other personas and 1 self-review. And that's it. The other things are supporting materials. Like, for example, you have a conversation with ChatGPT, including that transcript is important. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to make sure that what I need to submit, I saw what a couple people had already submitted, and so I wanted to make sure that was on the right track. That I just
follow the response.
It looked like, yeah, it looked like to
format?
me, yeah,
Okay.
it followed that format, and
Yeah.
then they put their survey questions underneath it. I think the review at the end, or the summarization at the end. That right there that you have pulled up, is that what we need to do
Yes.
to respond to individuals who put
Exactly.
some?
So
Okay,
improvement
okay,
suggestions and
okay,
appreciations, strengths and weaknesses, and then edit suggestions. Those are the 3 kinds of
okay,
categories for each response. And this helps everybody stay focused on what we should be talking about, right?
yeah, yeah,
The whole class, we want to make sure that when we're looking at peer reviews, we have these 3 sections: improvement suggestions and appreciations, strengths and weaknesses, and edit suggestions.
yeah. And then in the interviews that we're doing with our classmates to get our audience persona this week, is there any recommendations that kind of do's and don'ts on questions? Like, should it be more like both feedback, like what they think, and then also content in relation to what the podcast is about? Like, so for me, like the sports and lifestyle type deal, like asking like, do you watch sports, da 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 da, like things like that, but then also like feedback questions also on their thoughts about like any improvements, or what they like add additions or things like that.
Yeah. So the transcript from your interviews, just like the data from your surveys, all gets fed into an AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
To create a really detailed persona.
Yeah.
So you take the example, you put it in the AI, you take all the data, you put it in the AI, and then you take your best attempt at writing your persona and put the
Right.
AI and say, what am I missing?
Right.
The kinds of questions should be the kinds of questions that help make your show better.
Okay.
So would knowing, for example, when and how they listen make your show better? Like if you know that they listen on a run and not at breakfast, would that make your show better because you're able to speak to the context that they're in? And follow-up questions in depth that you couldn't get in the survey, because such a short survey, so difficult to get responses on those. Yes, you want to make sure you ask the kind of questions that you would use to improve your show.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's due this week, and then we also have to do the trailer this week also, right?
So this is the trailer, and I have the Adobe Podcast link because this is one of the ones where you can use Adobe
Yes.
Podcast instead of
Okay.
Zoom if you want to,
Okay.
because it'll create the videogram.
And this is just me doing that trailer for come check out my podcast, like, or whatever, like what's gonna get people like that we would put on like social media.
Yes. Most people do the 36 to 60-second option because this is more if you like have a well-developed personal brand
Mm-hmm.
and you want to do a storytelling one, right? 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
For people who really know where they're going and what they want to do with their personal brand, this one is better, even though it's 3 to 5 minutes. For most people in the class, the 30 to 60-second one will work best because that's usually the spots that you're going to get. Like, for example, if you had a friend say, hey, come promote your show on my podcast, they're only going to give you 30 to 60 seconds.
Right. Yeah. Like what it's about. Here it is. Check it out. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. This week is just doing interviews with your classmates. The one that's for next week, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but the one for next week, that is the one where you have to do an interview with somebody outside of the peers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's the one that I need a plan to set up. And this isn't like it's just one interview. It's not like I have to
It's
get
just one
multiple
interview.
interviews. Okay.
The thing is, most people will go a little over 20 so that they have room to cut if they need to.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's the one thing that you'd probably want to do. And you're going to have the transcript in the interview. The only kind of editing people do on this one is usually kind of a light editing at the beginning or the end, just to make it fit the criteria in this description.
Okay.
These are the specific steps. Great to plan ahead, and it's great to have a good plan, but be prepared to throw the plan out the window if you have more interesting conversation threads that you want to pull on.
Yeah.
For example, a lot of people will stick to their interview questions no matter what. That's a mistake sometimes, because if the interviewee says something awesome, you want to be able to say, wait, what? Tell me more about that. What does that look like? Because then they're going to paint a picture for you and your audience. And you want to be protecting the audience's time and energy as you're interviewing.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. And for this class, it's a much smaller version of what we would do, because it's an 8-week class. We only have so much time. You know, audience personas and avatars are usually much longer and much more detailed, so that you can really think about who it is you're talking to. For our purposes, the example suffices, because the example is getting at the main dimensions of that personality that you're speaking to.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, well, that makes me feel like it's a lot smoother than what I'm thinking. So then now that I have it no separate, just take the evidence that I have and go with that to create it, and put my survey in there, and then I can do the separate thing off that example format.
You got it. And the thing is, when you're asking, you're helping so many people who can't come and ask. So thank you.
Yes. No, for sure. Awesome.
Kimberly, welcome back to the show. You have some podcasting questions.
Yes. To my understanding, and correct me where I'm wrong, is so we need to come up with the audience persona based on the Sophia example provided. Get all of our survey responses that we have, and then transcribe or do the transcript of our peer interviews.
Yes, using something like Otter AI or Zoom can create a transcript too.
Okay.
And most people will like take notes as they're interviewing in case the transcript fails.
And then we put that into the AI, like, okay, here's my audience persona that I have. Here's all the data I collected. Where can I tweak? And then we put that on what we're going to submit. We put that audience persona, our survey questions, and then we need to put our interview summaries in there.
Yes, and you want AI to have all the information before you ask for feedback too. So giving it the assignment example and your data points of your survey and your data points from your transcript, and saying, hey, here's my audience persona that I created with this data. Do you see anywhere where it could be improved? In the spirit of the example, include the chat document, like you can copy it and then paste it and then include it as a PDF. So basically the way around using AI in that way is you just cite everything. And technically the patent office released some sort of guideline saying, if you have lots of iterations and you've had long conversations with it, then it becomes somehow copyrightable or patentable work somehow, which still doesn't make sense because the courts have not ruled that yet. They have not worked that out yet. We don't know exactly where AI is going to play in IP law.
Okay. So then in the doc that we're going to submit in the assignment, it has to have the audience persona, the survey results or questions and results, and then those interview summarizations need to be in there also.
Yeah, so like as an appendix or a separate PDF. A lot of people use separate PDFs for these things because you want your persona to be separate. So it's clear. This is my persona. And then all the other stuff, it's like appendix kind of material. So a PDF is good.
Okay, so I can submit 3 different documents. I can do the audience persona
clearly labeled. Yeah.
Yeah, the audience persona, here's the appendix, here's the survey, interviews, and then here's my reference for ChatGPT.
Technically it'd be great to separate the reference for ChatGPT into a separate document. And separate those things. But the main thing is in the text on Canvas, having the audience persona, like not in a separate PDF. The separate PDF is good for the references.
Okay. So in the audience persona, we'd have to have that, but do you want the survey in that also?
Yeah. So the survey should be as just another part of the appendix or PDFs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And just like the interview transcripts are your notes from the interview. If the transcript
Uh-huh.
feature didn't work for some reason, you can include your notes. And
Okay.
those are all reference points for how did this actual persona come into existence?
And
Well,
that can be a separate PDF.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can be attached to underneath your actual persona that you have created with the help of an AI if needed. Yeah. Your audience persona is the main part of the assignment. And then the supporting documents to that are your survey research results, your interview research results, which both are your data points that you're using to write and create the audience persona. And of course, using AI to improve that after you've written it. That's the process. Yeah, that's great. And one of the reasons that we do the interviews is so you can get that qualitative to actually complement the quantitative. Because a lot of people will have very low survey responses, and that's completely okay. That's why we do the interviews.
These are strictly student interviews, right? With our classmates?
They can be student interviews with the classmates primarily because that's, the people who'd be more willing to talk to you about your podcast because they're doing it too. But they don't necessarily have to be because we want it to be your target audience. The one thing I will warn against is on your actual podcast interviews, make sure that the content is aligned with your actual interview subject. Neighbors and friends and brothers and sisters are great for your audience interviews, but not for your actual podcast if they're not actual domain experts in what you're actually interviewing people about.
Okay. All right, cool. Good to know.
Also,
I use it like
Claude
crazy.
as well is evidently so good and comparable, if not better, in many domains than
Really?
ChatGPT.
Oh.
So that's something else to think about. There's also Perplexity, which is super great for reference sources. It's a really great search tool, AI search tool. Those are the three that I usually recommend. There's more out there, like Notebook LM, Google Gemini, that are good for specific use cases.
Can you take these transcripts from these interviews and put them into ChatGPT and for them to help summarize or something, or like it? Okay. All right, cool. Okay.
That's one of the benefits, right? Is you instead of relying on your notes, which might be faulty because human beings make mistakes, if it has a real transcript, then you can take that and paste it and say, this is one of my reference points. Is there anything in my persona that would be best informed by this? And then after you see that answer, you can pick and choose the data that you think is relevant. Fantastic. And content creators actually, at the very end of one of those orientation videos, we have a little tutorial on Adobe Podcast.
Okay.
It doesn't do the video, it's audio only, but you can upload a file or record it live and it will show you the waveforms and it will transcribe your file. Very good job. You have to edit it just like anything else, but you edit it like a Word document, which is really nice. The quiz will help you to create better content because, for example, if you learn about storytelling techniques and storytelling strategies and you take a quiz about it, you're going to be able to apply that easier in your podcast.
Right. No, for sure. I agree. Yeah.